Clark, author and actor and app developer. And I just want to say that I support Keith Andrew and everything he's doing here to really make people more aware of what you can accomplish.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am your host, Keith Andrew, and you're watching the Keith Andrew Network. I'm here with Elaine Clark. It's a real honor, privilege, heavy as a guest. Thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you. And I'm here for October.
Oh, absolutely. Now, one thing I love about October is only on the Keith Andrew Network is my guests get to dress up for the whole month of October. So you can dress up, dress down, dress however you want. That's completely up to you. But for the whole month, that's your freedom of a Halloween theme. Also, I do this for December and January. As you know, December is Christmas, so I do like a Christmas theme. January, it's kind of boring after the holidays, but I continue to do the Christmas theme. Yeah, keep up, the beats, keep up the energy, the positivity. So pretty much you get to say and dress how you feel. So October, Halloween, December and January, Christmas theme. I may do something in March like called you guys are football themes. You can wear your favorite jerseys. So pretty much on the Keith Andrew Network, as I've been doing for the past couple of years, it's always good to be different and have a great time. So that being said, it's a real honor and privilege having you as a guest. And for people who want to know who Elaine Clark is, you are a book author, number one, and you are also a professional voiceover professional, coach, and speaker.
Mm-hmm. That is correct. So I have two books. One is There's Money Where Your Mouth Is, and coming up in another month, my new book, Voiceovers for Podcasting, will be out. I also have two apps, Activate Your Voice, which is a voice and diction app, and Adding Melody to Your Voice, which is about how to add melody through using movements and being really specific about getting the results that you want.
Well, if you're interested, I would love to have you coach me.
Okay, well, good. So say something and I'll coach you.
All right.
I might have to take the glasses off because I won't be able to see you very well.
Absolutely. It's always good to dress up, but at the same time, you can always go back and forth between, having fun, being professional, and having fun. But I guess you would say this is more my classic look.
There you go.
This is more of my badass look.
Yeah. This is my professorial look.
So it looks nice. So the first one I want to talk to you about is those books behind you. We can get into the coaching in a little bit, but I want to talk to you about those books behind you. What can you tell us about them, and what was your very first one?
Well, the first one came out over 25 years ago, the first edition of There's Money Where Your Mouth Is. And it was a time that I had already been coaching people. I set up a school, about 34 years ago. And people were asking me, how do you get into voiceover? What do you do? So I decided to put it in a book so people quit asking me questions. Well, surprisingly enough, more people started asking me questions and my business grew. So it's divided into three sections. The first part is the foundation of word movement and interpretation. The second part is about application to scripts. And then the third part is how do you get work? What's the marketing? So it's divided into sections. I set it up as a 15-week college course so you can take it from beginning to end, not as a quick read, so that every page has a little story that goes along with it. And that's what's nice about it. And once you have the foundations down, you can apply that to anything: commercials, narration, character work, podcasting, also into public speaking. It just all works together.
No, absolutely. It's funny. A lot of people actually tell me I should write a book, I should do public speaking. I really don't think and feel that I accomplished, maybe I have a big ego, but I don't think I feel I accomplished so many things. Yes, I have accomplished, but I feel like there's so much more I can do before I can actually write a book. Because I did write a book. I was jealous of my brother because he wrote a book, and the book I wrote was When You Overcome Controversy, Dreams Do Come True, even if you have a learning disability. Mm-hmm. And pretty much in that book, I felt like I was more, complaining, oh, this is what I did in 5th grade, and this is what I did in 6th grade. And I felt like this is not a book. It sounds like more like a diary. And plus with all the typos. And then I'm like, you know what? Maybe I need to accomplish a couple more goals and have something solid. But I've tried reaching out to TED Talk. I want to do public speaking. I reached out to Comic-Cons because no one knows me for a hole in the wall. So I thought, okay, if I can do Comic-Cons and do like speaking engagements for 10, 15 minutes, at least I can just say, this is what I am, who I am, and what I do. For the episode, I didn't do my speech because I've been doing my speech over and over. But if you want, I can do the speech for you.
Sure. And we can go from there.
So, and that goes into the coaching too. You can tell me what I'm doing right, what I'm doing wrong. But the whole point of my talk show is to show people that even with having a learning disability, I can still amount to something. And at the same time, I'm able to turn myself into an example for people out there dealing with any types of learning disabilities and disabilities to never give up and prove people wrong.
And one of the reasons why I wanted to be on the show too, and I'm sorry I interrupted, is because for 10 years I was a partner in a company that we called Special Focus, and we took improv into special needs classes. And that was probably the most rewarding experiences that we had. And just being able to see what people could do when they were told they couldn't. And also that helped me as a coach break things down into little pieces. So it's, I'm more into the teaching mode of being active rather than it being all logical information, so that when you put your body into it and you have a kinesthetic movement, it really seems to break through to everyone, but especially people with learning disabilities. So I'm going to use some of that technique with you.
All right, go ahead. I would love to see it. So we want our viewers. Okay,
well, go ahead and say your speech, the beginning of what speech you were going to do, and then you just do like 30 seconds of it, and then I'll give you some tips.
All right, well, like I was saying, the whole point of my talk show is to show people that even with having a learning disability, I can still amount to something. And at the same time, I'm able to turn myself into an example for people out there dealing with any types of learning disabilities and disabilities to never give up and prove people wrong. Prove to them that labels do not dictate who you are and who you're going to be, and prove to them you can still amount to something. So hashtag break labels.
There you go. So I'm hearing your compassion. I hear your enthusiasm and why you've started the show. One of the things that you can do is use different parts of your body when you're talking, so that you have a story or a connection that you can do with one side, and then the other can then give us something else. So that the melody of it, of a higher pitch versus a lower pitch, can help. Also, I want to know in the story is how you're going to help me versus just saying, this is why I'm here. So tell me, let's switch roles for a second. And you tell me how I can learn from you that, and let's give me something that you've struggled with. So I'll take on that role, something that you're very familiar with, if you're willing to say.
My dad says I have diarrhea of the mouth. I talk too much, and I'm socially awkward.
Okay. So I'm going to just keep on talking, and you have to interrupt me, and I'm going to just say stupid stuff that doesn't really mean anything. So you have to grab my attention to make me stop. So whenever you want to do that, go ahead and do it, because I have diarrhea of the mouth. So go ahead. Don't let me stop you. You just keep on going, and I'll stop when I'm ready.
No, perfect. For the one thing is I always watch, talk shows, and I, for an example, Chris Cuomo, he always, when the guest talks, he would automatically jump in. I don't like cutting people off because I'm not an asshole. Okay, sometimes I do stupid things. It's PG-13, by the way. But there is a point where, yes, you can talk, and they're like, okay, that's enough. But at the same time, you there's a way to do it and say, we have to move on to another subject, but you don't want to interrupt and say, he doesn't let me speak. If that makes
Well,
any
I think
sense.
no, it's an exchange. Dialogue is an exchange, like having a. I like to think of it like the relay runners, so that you're handing off a baton and then you're getting the baton. And there are ways of doing that to help people, so that when you know that you're finished, that you end a thought, and then you keep on going. What a lot of people do when they speak is that they keep on going and going, and then they think another one, and they keep on going, and the ums and ahs and basicallys and all this other stuff come in because you have to keep on talking.
Right.
But if you say, how do you feel? Your answer might be fine, or, you know, whatever you feel like. But if I go, well, how are you feeling? Because I'm feeling okay, but I got to keep on going because I'm too afraid to quit talking. So that's why let's just see how we can trade off the baton, and let's even have a baton, like a invisible baton in our hands as we're passing off the dialogue.
Sure, I can just use this for an example.
Sure.
All right, so like for an example, your book says money talks, right?
There's money where your mouth is.
Money where your mouth is.
Yeah, my book doesn't actually talk, but I do, obviously.
That would be good though, right?
Yeah. We'll work on that for next time.
So can you start and give us an example?
Well, we actually sort of did something very organically just then. So as you were talking to me, your hand sort of went out a little bit. Said, "Yeah, but what about this?" And then you said, and you brought your hand to you as you were talking, and then you said, "But what do you think?" And your hand went out again. So I'm just using this as my baton. But but that happens naturally when you're in a room together,
right?
And and when you're not. When it's all about just me getting my message across, I don't have time to listen to you. And if you just have a message and I don't listen to you, it's all about you getting your message across. So why should both of us be in the room at the same time?
No, I agree with you 100%. You know, there's a couple of examples of my past interviews where I should have put my foot down and says, okay, you just talked for 10 minutes. Now it's time for me to ask you something. But instead, I just like, okay, whatever, this is your time. Just go and have diarrhea in the mouth. And you can see, you know, through the years, I've been doing this 7.5 years, being relaxed, so whatever you want to talk about, too. You know what? I brought you on the show. We're going to talk about this now. Not to interrupt, or if you've gone on a little too far, I kind of go, give a sign like that and say, okay, take a breather. My early work, I interviewed this one guy who he was a professional actor, and he won the whole episode talking about drugs. I'm like, all right, am I going to get a word in? Is this now your show? You know, it's going on and on and on. I felt like saying, hey, buddy, shut the hell up. But I don't do that because I try to be professional. And I do watch other interviews where someone talks, or Bill Maher would jump in and like, well, let me ask you about this. Or someone say, well, okay, are you going on about that? But I really asked you about this subject. So I am working on that to be a little more aggressive. I guess people would say I'm a little laid back, so not like a wuss, but I tend to have the personality to have people walk on me, but I am trying to find the right medium of saying, this is my point. You can talk, but yes, I do talk with some hands, but you can talk, but at the same time, it's like, say what you have to, you have your 5 minutes, that's it, and now it's my turn. Instead of just saying, well, he's not going to let me get a word in, so let's just let him talking to himself till he falls asleep.
Mm-hmm. Well, you have to decide what kind of format you want, whether it's more of a debate format where you have this certain amount of minutes of talking and then you take it away. One of the things that happens on the news is that you have commercial breaks. And so all of a sudden the timeline, I'd love to talk to you some more, but we have to cut you off because it's going to get cut off, whether I tell it to cut off or not. And then how abrupt it is is worse than me saying, I'm sorry to have to cut you off, but we have to stop that right now. But that was so-and-so who was just talking, and now we'll be back after this message.
No, absolutely. And I watch CNN all the time. I used to like Fox News, but until Bill O'Reilly came out and he was a big phony. So I'm like, okay, enough with Fox News. Let's just watch CNN. But not to talk about politics. So my brother watches or listens to the news for 15 minutes, and he says that's the best way to listen to it. Listen to the news about 10, 15 minutes, get your dose, and that's it. Don't watch it 24/7 because you're going to make yourself crazy.
I agree with that, especially the last few years. It's just been saturated. But this is where we have to just think about in our communication style, if we get back to that, what our message is and how we want to project that message, whether it's a message of kindness, whether it's a message of support, whether it's a message of fear and anger and division. So we have all these choices of how we present it. So I can be really aggressive and talk to you in a very aggressive way right now, but I think then we wouldn't have this casual conversation and make it an enjoyable time. It's against my personality, and I think it's against yours, but we could do it if we had to. So I think knowing what you want to accomplish is and your through line of a speech is really what it's all about. And that's where it boils down to choices. If your choice is, like for your show, illumination, it's like you want people to be illuminated, to realize what someone with your background and experience has done and how far you can go with it. I think that is fantastic. That's fantastic. And that's going to open the eyes of someone else. What I really work on when I coach people is how to put movement in their bodies, but very specific. So it's not just flailing away, but it's about making specific keywords stand out, having a through line for a message and having an arc of a story, and using our history and life experiences to bring to that story. So if we have good experiences, we're going to bring a certain amount of good experience. If we've had bad experiences that we've overcome, we have an even broader spectrum, provided we're not bringing, talking about it from a negative standpoint, but from, like you said, not doing it like a diary, but doing it in a way that will help someone understand and grow from that experience. So there are a lot of really good books and other things out there besides my own, of course, that will help you in that regard. But then you say, from this story, what did I learn? And that can be the arc. That can be the through line of your book.
No, absolutely. And now I am very curious about that book behind you. Have you ever thought about writing audiobooks?
I'm sorry, about writing what kind of books?
That book right behind you. Have you ever thought about turning that into an audiobook?
An audiobook. I'm going to turn the voiceovers for podcasting into an audiobook. What I'm going to do with adding melody, There's Money Where Your Mouth is that I'm going to create little video cast training bits. Because for me, just to read it, it's so rich with information. So I'm going to have little videos of how I meant from these words, and then give people an assignment of what to do. So it'll be like a weekly assignment to improve their communication. I'm going to start rolling that out in a month or so. So that's on my agenda for moving forward. And then, I will start reading the voiceovers for podcasting, so it'll be ready when it comes out in November. And I learned so much in writing that book, just about monetization. And my publisher asked me to write it because I know about communication and how to help people who want to be podcasters or are already podcasters, how to be better at it. So, and I put it together with different pros and cons of things that I would want to know, because I'm fairly demanding as a reader. So these are things that I would like to know in a very straightforward manner. So that's what that's all about.
You bring up a good point. And what do you think about my talk show? When you compare and you read it to your book and you look at mine, I want you to be brutally honest. What are the pros and cons of my show?
Well, I haven't watched every one. So first of all, I want to give myself a disclaimer here. But I think that what, I think part of it is target audience. Think about your target audience, about who you really want to reach, not only age range, gender, backgrounds, and appeal to that. So even just looking at the lightning behind you, it's a really cool background. Is that the background that's going to appeal to a broader audience, or is that one that just is a cool background? So that, I mean, these are things that you have to think about. And that's what advertising agencies think about. And that's why I've been doing ads for so long. I think like that. And I've written so many ads, hundreds of ads. So, you have to then analyze what the client wants, and then you switch it around and provide a service to people and what they need.
Oh, absolutely. It's funny you should say that because I interviewed my friend, former ECW wrestler Raven, and he says, "No, I can have you on my show, or Joe can have you on his show." And by hits about, like, they call it the 60-second eargasm, and it's like, "Yeah, I'm having you on the show. Just wonderful. Yeah, I'll love to have you." But I don't think my audience would find you a good fit. And Raven said, "Well, I don't really have guests. Even if I did have a guest, I would love to have you. But the same thing, I don't know if my audience will have it." You asked, what about my audience? I pretty much cater to everyone, people with disabilities, people without disabilities. I have this background because it's different, it's unique, and it looks badass. I'm a big wrestling fan. I like to have some pyro. So I want to have it like a music/rock show, but have the main message of saying, "Hey, look at someone who has a disability. Look at what he's able to do and become an example." How is he becoming an example? Well, I overcame a crap load of things, but that didn't stop me or discourage me from reaching my goals. So my message, my audience, I don't really know what my audience is, to be honest with you, but I try to cater to everyone. So if I find wrestlers, I interview wrestlers to cater to that audience. If I interview cheerleaders, I interview the people for that audience. So I will find someone like yourself and say, "Okay, you represent actors and people who do voiceovers. So I will present this to that group." So I pretty much am trying to, okay, I know the excuses. If you set yourself up for failure, you probably got to do it. But you can't please everyone because you set yourself up for failure. But I did over so many episodes, like, okay, little for you, little for you. It's like giving a hamster a little treat. You got to see, does he like A or does he like B more? And whatever it goes to and keeps going back to, like, okay, so plan B, it's working more than plan A. Let's try something else. Plan C or plan D. Then we change it up a little bit. So you can't do the same copy and paste because it gets stale and repetitive. But to be honest, when someone asks, "What is your audience?" I really don't have an answer for you because I don't know what it is. I know people stand with my message saying, "You have a disability, you overcoming so much." That's it. That's your message. And if you're,
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt again, but but what I hear is that this is what would be called an awareness campaign.
yes.
So you're making people aware of you and aware of what you can achieve. So, and then it's breaking down barriers. So that's part of the message. And just, I always find that if you can boil it down to one or two words, what you're doing, and all those other issues that you talk about are still following that guideline, it's got a great through line, which is something like, especially when people are doing podcasting, they have to figure out what is my real message. And I interviewed Jordan Harbinger for the podcast, and he was already in another show that was promoting dating. And then but he got married and had a kid. Said, "I can't really do that anymore." because that's not where I am in my life. So he created his own show, and he just follows his heart of what he's doing. So they're always truthful, but there's still a message that's going through. And that's where we have to figure out what our message is. Right. And so mine is better communication. And I think yours is also understanding. So whether it's understanding, awareness, but that's also, it can have an arc of a story within that. So after awareness and people know who you are, then you can change it to more deep dives.
I agree with you 100%. Now, I do have a couple questions for you off the air. Okay. But wrapping up our interview segment, don't worry, your Instagram will be on the bottom of the screen. Everyone will follow you. So everyone, make sure to follow my guest, and whatever she does, she's a great influence, a great person, and I would love to have a copy of that free book. But we can talk about that off the air. But I am looking forward to part 2 with you down the road. And I just want to say thank you for being a guest on the show.
Hi, guys. My name is Kat Johnston.
This is Donna Drake.
This is Kayleen.
Hi, my name is Kara Svucek.
I'm Julia Brothers.
Jenna Curtis.
Hey, I'm Jenny Fine.
Hi, it's Mimi Chin.
Hi, my name is Ella Dorsch.
My name is Shauna Toft.
Hey guys, I'm Anastasia Edwards.
Hi, this is Jackie Nunez.
Actress Becky Hayes.
Hi, I'm Amelia Rose.
Hey there, I'm Saki Mieta.
Hey guys, I'm Alexandria Denise, and you're watching Keith Andrews' show. He's doing a terrific job. Make sure you like and subscribe, and stay tuned for more awesomeness.